For clarification, at the time of recording this review, Sonic Rush on the Nintendo DS was my favourite Sonic the Hedgehog game, and from the longest time, it was the only Sonic the Hedgehog game I had ever completed. It had everything you could ever want: sprawling levels, huge speed, style, fun characters, and an amazing story. As a result, every Sonic game I would go on to play in the future would be compared to Sonic Rush, the single greatest Sonic the Hedgehog game ever made. So let's review Sonic Superstars on the Nintendo Switch. Before we get started on the review, I just want to thank everyone for your support. I recently hit 700 subscribers, which is absolutely fantastic for me. I never thought I'd reach that high number on my YouTube channel. So yeah, if you're enjoying my content, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And on to the show. I was first introduced to Sonic Superstars when I went to the Sonic Symphony in London last year. It's a great experience, and I'm pretty certain at the time of recording they are actually still touring, so if you have the opportunity, make sure you go. It is fantastic. And at the very first show, they actually showed a teaser and some unseen footage of Sonic Superstars at the time, and I fell in love immediately. So we teased it with some music, some animations, they showcased a couple of the levels in the game. I was enthralled with the new style of Sonic the Hedgehog, which was a bit reminiscent of Super Mario Wonder, which was also due for release in a couple months' time. Fast forward a year, and my word was I excited because I finally got the chance to play the game. Initially, when you start the game, you are dazzled by the amazing animations and the music, which is setting you up for the story that is ahead, before being thrown into what is literally a Green Hill Zone copy. And that is by no means criticism, that is embracing tradition in Sonic the Hedgehog games. And the entire Green Hill Zone section is fantastic from start to finish, right to the final boss. Absolutely loved every second of it. The entire game runs at 60 frames per second, which is really good for Nintendo Switch. Weirdly, the only time it does have performance issues is on the actual loading screens. It doesn't actually affect the gameplay so much, so I'm not going to mark it down for that. It's just very weird that loading screens is where we get the lag, especially considering the loading screens only last 3 seconds, so who cares? So yes, initially playing the game, I was having a fantastic time, running, jumping, and diving. But then the cracks start to show. The levels get a bit convoluted, easy to get lost in. There's sections in the levels where you literally have to stop running and do some slow platforming, which makes sense in a Mario game, but not in Sonic. We have to run as fast as you can. Gotta go slow. It also happens frequently, specifically in the jungle zones, where you actually get lost. Do I go left? Do I go right? Due to how sprawling and back and forth the levels can get, resulting in you only know if you're going in the right direction if you come across a checkpoint, or you're going the wrong way if you haven't seen a checkpoint in a long time. There doesn't seem to be any arrows saying, hey, you're going backwards in the level, even though backwards is forwards and forwards is backwards. Ah! Bosses were originally a lot of fun, but then they got really cryptic. They're too long, with too many stages, and no checkpoints in between the said stages either. Chatting to one friend, he said,
if Sonic Superstars was their first game, I don't think they'd like Sonic.
The friend in question is Moggy, who's literally a lifetime Sonic fan and used to frequent the Summer of Sonic festivals back in the noughties, so you know he's a real deal. So when a Sonic fan is struggling to enjoy Super Mario Superstar, it makes you Super Mario wonder why that is. And I did put this to the test with my son as well to see if it was true.
Sonic 6, I wish I was at school.
Despite the issues, I did personally really enjoy Sonic Superstars, and I would rank it as some of my favourite Sonic games. The art style is awesome, and like I said before, it reminds me of Super Mario Wonder, which is not a bad thing. The music is fantastic, despite what some of the fans may say. And it's cool how when you're running through the level, sometimes you will see some of Sonic's friends like Knuckles or Amy running in the background of the level, and you can see what adventures they're up to. It's great. It just feels, the game feels very lived in. And the level select screen, oh my god, the level select screen is beautiful. It is the most beautiful level select screen I've ever seen in a game, ever. The music, the colours, the way you go from one world to the next. It's great. You know, they could have done a simple overworld map like we do in a lot of Super Mario games. They could have made it into some portals that you can just go through, you know, a bit like Crash Bandicoot. But no, each zone, as you're walking through, is meticulously detailed around how those zones are going to be played out. It's just beautiful. And the music in the game, oh my God, it's so good. The music is so good, I actually find myself humming it a lot of the time. And this is actually the first Sonic game where I've successfully collected all of the Chaos Emeralds and became Super Sonic. It's worth noting, and I don't know how common this is in other Sonic games, but as you collect each Chaos Emerald that you collect grants you a secret power. So these powers can be seeing hidden platforms. The secret power can be to do like a chain, you know, like a dash attack in the air and then down. There's a secret power to clone you. I won't say too much because it will spoil the surprise. But it's really cool that each Chaos Emerald that you collect gives you a new power to help with the game's difficulty, which I will be touching on a bit later on. In terms of speed, it doesn't help that I'm comparing this game to Sonic Rush. It doesn't feel fast, it feels more like a light jog, which for a Sonic game is not very good. And all the characters have the same speed, which kind of puts Sonic at a disadvantage, because whereas other characters, like Amy for example, or Trip, have a double jump. And the final boss is so bleeding difficult, and this is the case with a lot of bosses where the difficulty of the bosses doesn't necessarily match the difficulty of the levels, and it doesn't do much to prepare you at all. Like, for example, with the final boss is so difficult that I found myself Googling the boss to see if I was playing it wrong. And it turns out, no, I wasn't playing it wrong. It's just that difficult. And it also turns out that the final boss is ranked among the hardest Sonic the Hedgehog bosses in history. I do find it baffling how difficult the bosses are, how difficult some of the levels are. It's supposed to be a kid's game. The market is supposed to be children like my son. If I wanted to play a Mega Man game, I'd play Mega Man. This isn't Mega Sonic. There's a multiplayer mode in the game too, which is meh. It's easy to, how do I best describe this? There's 4 of you on the screen, okay? And you're all running along, and if you leave the screen in for a fraction of a second, you get bubbled back in with the leader, which creates a huge issue if all 4 of you like to go down it, because there's different routes to complete a Sonic level. So if you all decide to go down different routes, the game's just going to randomly pick one route to go through, and it results in tears, it results in sadness. Nobody's happy with that. I actually feel Sonic the Hedgehog isn't suited for a 4-player multiplayer game. It would have been, if I wanted to go down the multiplayer route, we should have stuck with 2 players and did it similar to what we did in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, where we'd have it 2-player split screen. And that would have been great if you want to co-op the entire game together as well. That would be a lot of fun. Because, you know, at least when you get to some bosses, you could have a single screen, you both share the same screen, but then on other levels it'd be a double screen. You know what I mean. But that would be a lot better than what we actually did, which was ridiculous. 4-player multiplayer for the sake of 4-player multiplayer. That's what it felt like. Overall, I did enjoy Sonic Superstars. It's not the best game, but it's also no Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, which is a game I intend to play at some point next year because I hate myself. I'm slapping a 7 out of 10 on this game. I wouldn't recommend it for people getting into Sonic for the first time, and I wouldn't recommend it to new gamers, but I would recommend it to adults who maybe like Sonic and maybe in the future want to question whether they want to carry on playing games in the future. And that's it for me. Have a great week. Thanks for watching.